Okay. What's up, Fire Breathers? This is for Jakara's Fit 2019-03-14 for Thursday. So I'm not sure who's watching this and for what, or like why, or what brought you here. So first off, like that feedback would be great. Second, and I ask for feedback only because I mean, obviously, right, like reality is based on our perception. So I have my vision and like my dreams or my goals and why I do things and the way that I like would like them to be utilized and used, but I don't know if they're being used that way. So then I just kind of come up with, motivations or like why people are doing or not doing what they're doing and interacting and whatnot. So on that note, today is basically going to be treated like a podcast where I'm just assuming that you're listening to this, not necessarily watching, and then using that and taking it into your training. So I am going to combine the gym with the home track, and I'm going to start with the gym workout for the day and talk through some of those points for your workouts today, and then I'll address the home. So gym, your three main tasks for today, you've got a lot of lifting-ish, which is funny because that's the name of it, ish, and then a Metcon, right, and then your core work. Please, again, remember that this has been programmed for a couple months now, so can't be mad that there was handstand walks in the open for this past weekend and then now you're handstand walking today. My mentality with going into this, with this open, and you'll see again for the French throwdown, I've kind of done the same thing. It's to keep a sort of normal sense of training during the open. So obviously your training and the way that you do workouts, when you do workouts, the way that you're approaching them, it changes during competition time, especially competitions that are this, weekly for more than just 1 week or 1 weekend. And depending on the type of athlete you are, but my theory is that most CrossFitters, right, that train and we like kind of high volume training, or we like having these options of all these things to do and picking and choosing from them what we need at that point in our life or in our week or in our day, but then also having the option of doing all this, is that even with competitions, we like being able to do our best in sprints, but we also like maintaining some sense of the marathon aspect of it. So the daily grind, the work, the in and the out of it. So that's why I haven't really changed much of the programming during the open. Like you guys saw week 1, there was rowing and wall balls, and there were wall balls programmed the day after. That's the way it is. That's the way it goes sometimes. So all that said, you are starting with, I called it on the minute-ish. So it's every 90 seconds for 9 minutes. You've got 1 clean and jerk. It is a squat clean. It is a split jerk. So warm up for that first. You are then immediately going into the same rep scheme for a snatch. It is a full snatch, meaning you are squatting. So as you're warming up your clean and jerk, also warm up your snatch. Just make sure that for the snatch, you're doing a big explosive pull up off the ground and then a very quick, snappy squat to get underneath that barbell. Remember, whether you're jerking it, whether you're cleaning it, whether you're snatching it, the idea is that you are receiving that barbell for the clean and the jerk with your hips below your knees, so you're catching that bar in a full squat. And for the jerk and the snatch, you're catching that bar with your arms already locked out and extended. So the best analogy that I ever found for this is to shut the door. So as you jump that bar up, or as you drive up into your dip and you go to pull yourself underneath the bar for whatever reason, your hips are open, right, from your explosion and your jump. And then after our open hips, we're going to slam the door, close our hips as quickly as we can. And what that does is pulls us under the bar, gets us into that full squat position, gets us into that big split position, right? You can't do a split without closing your hips as well. So snappy, aggressive, squat, locked out arms, okay? For your score for this, a little bit different than usual. I want you to take your heaviest successfully completed clean and jerk, and then your heaviest successfully completed snatch, and I want you to add them up, and that's your score. You can leave your individual lifts in the notes as always, but so just please note that for today, it's not the heaviest of the two, or it's not just your snatch, or it's not just your clean and jerk. Clean and jerk, snatch, add them up, score, okay? Your Metcon, I've called it flippy dippy. You've got a heavy wall ball and then handstand walks. So please note the rep scheme on this. It's only 1 time through and it is 4 time. So set out your markers ahead of time so you know what distance to do and don't lose track of where you're at. Remember with your wall balls, you have to start at full extension of your hips. You have to squat and then that ball has to hit your target. I always call them wall ball shots. I like performing to a standard, right? So try to hit the center of your line. Try not to exert too much effort and overthrow your ball. That's just training us in efficient energy use. For your wall balls, pick a set and stick with it. So with it being a little bit heavier, this is where we tend to kind of do smaller sets with longer breaks. We do the walk of shame once we let that ball drop. Force yourself to stay by your ball and take 3 breaths max before you go into your next set. If you are going to do it in 5s, that's fine. Stay with that. Short breaks, okay? Handstand walks, if you have them, do them. If you're practicing them and you can get a couple steps at a time, again, practice it. This is the time to get it in. If you don't have the handstand walks, your scaling options are shoulder taps, where you wall walk up with your nose against the wall and then lift and lower your hands up off the ground 1 at a time. Do a 2-to-1 ratio. It's going to seem like a lot. It is a lot because if you're doing handstand walks, you're doing a lot of steps. If shoulder taps are out of your scope, you can do bear crawls. And trust me, I know after 19.3, a lot of people kind of bitching and complaining about bear crawls for handstand walks. Guys, bear crawls are awful, awful. So don't discredit those. And then once you've recovered from that, you do have some core work to finish up on. Why do we do core work? Is it for our abs? Sure, like a little bit, but with CrossFit or when you're doing a strength and conditioning program where you're tackling powerlifting, you're tackling Olympic weightlifting, you're tackling body weight movements, the idea is that we move from core to extremity. Our power comes from our hips. Our power then goes from our hips to our arms or down through our legs. A strong core, what keeps your spine safe, keeps your back safe while you're lifting, and it allows you to develop more explosiveness, more power, which translates to more strength, which is what we always want. In the meantime, we may develop abs, back abs, front abs. That's not the goal though. So just keep that in mind while you're doing these. The goal is strength and power in your core, not necessarily to look in the mirror and find some abs. If you do, that's fine, but it's a lot of them, kind of high volume. So there is a weight assigned to your Russian kettlebell swings. Remember, that's halfway. The focus is on the pop of the hips, the opening of the hips, right? Open the door in your swing. Keep your ribs down, keep that core tight as you're swinging, and squeeze your glutes. Always squeeze the glutes. Then you got your sit-ups and your hip extensions, and then you have knees to elbows. Do not make these toes to bar. Knees to elbow are a different level of suck. So do them knees to elbows. So that's the gym. Have fun with it. Dracarys, attack with fire. Take what is yours with fire and blood. Home. So your warm-up, I do believe, is specific to your workout. And you'll see that you've got your 3 levels in your warm-up where it says like walk, jog, sprint. Please remember that is always relative, always. So that's the level that where you're doing a 1 pace, then you're picking up the pace, and then you're finishing at a max effort pace. Your finishing pace, when you go through the warm-up for the 3rd time, should be faster than what you will be doing in your workout. So just keep that in mind. And so you've got a repeat, I think is what I called it too. So you'll run the distance, you'll rest for the 5 minutes, and then you'll run the distance again. Your score is the total amount of time that it takes you from start to finish, including that 5 minutes rest. So don't cheat and make the rest be only 2 or 3 minutes. The idea is that you're fully recovering, and in theory, you're able to attack that second half with the same intensity as you did that first half. It's going to be different, obviously, right? Because you did just run. But get that mindset of, I just rested, I recovered, I'm almost done. I did it 1 time, I can do it again. The way you go about doing this, totally up to you, depends what you have available or where you're at. So if you need to go out for the distance, rest at that end point for the 5 minutes, and then run back to the beginning, that would be the way that I would do it. Outside, I like out and backs. If you need to do it on a treadmill, that's also perfectly acceptable. That is fine. If you need to run laps, more power to you. Just make sure you're hitting the distance, resting, and then hitting it again. Scaling options for this. So when I say run, my idea is that you are getting outside and moving. So even if it's a walking pace, or you don't feel that you're running, oh, I'm just jogging it, that's fine. Get the distance covered where you're still pushing yourself, okay? If that distance is completely out of your capabilities, then scale the distance as well. But I want you picking up the pace, getting out of breath, being uncomfortable for a little bit longer than you are comfortable with. So just keep that in mind. As always, whether it's for the gym or the home, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can email me. You can direct message me either on Facebook or on Instagram. I haven't been using the Twitter. Forgot my login, and it was annoying me anyway, so maybe I'll get back to that one day. But in the meantime, Instagram, Facebook are the 2 main ways. If you want to be able to text me, I am using WhatsApp. You do need my German phone number, I believe, in order to access that. So if you want that, I'm perfectly okay with that. I don't mind texting. I like texting better than anything else, probably. So, but let me know. You'll have to reach me one of those other 2 ways in order to get that from me, but that's perfectly fine. So, home, Dracarys. Everybody have fun. Thanks for listening. Catch you later.